Oh, hey crew, I'm back. My voice is starting to come back. I have said this in several of my videos, but I'm entering that phase of the sinus drainage that's giving you that dry cough sometimes. It's just really annoying. It's like the back of your throat itching, and it's really annoying. So I have some honey tea to help me get through that. But my voice is coming back, so I'm very happy about that. So yay. Because after episode 14, I've been really excited to see this one. They leave on this cliffhanger of Xiaolan. It's like, well, what's going to happen to her? Is this going to be, what is MaoMao going to see Suirei, who's standing right there? What are we going to do? Now, to be honest with you all, I'm literally recording this the day after I recorded episode 14, so I could have it coming out in time next week. But the only comments I were able to see was the comments for episode 13 on Patreon, and then episode 12 if there were any extras on YouTube. So the only comment I really want to talk about, though, is from HBanana7 with episode 13, because I thought their comment had some really good pointers to talk about, where they said, other than the eunuchs, no male presence is in this episode, not even with Jinshi. Which is crazy to me, right? I was like, oh, interesting. I'm curious, HBanana7 says, how MaoMao doesn't toot her own horn. If I was her, I would tell the three sisters that I got the job by saving Ling Li's life. But MaoMao's chicken breast comment sent me. It's funny how MaoMao isn't interested in ghost stories, but interested in ghost sightings. So two things. One, I kind of think that MaoMao, unfortunately, her not tooting her own horn is literally because she discounts herself so much. She's like, I'm just a lowly servant. I'm like, girl, you ain't. But I think that that's just her being humble because she doesn't view herself very positively, which is sad. And I hope that Jinshi helps her to realize how amazing she is. And I hope that Xiaolan and Shisui help her to realize how amazing she is as well. I've seen some people in the comments shipping MaoMao and Shisui. If I wasn't a big MaoMao Jinshi shipper, I'd be on that boat, but I don't diss you for getting on that boat as well, right? As far as the last comment goes, I thought that was really clever because saying that MaoMao isn't interested in ghost stories, but interested in ghost sightings, that's because you have something concrete and you can see it's evidence like the sighting versus just hearsay with the stories, which is just conjecture. And I was like, ooh, kind of tying that into MaoMao's philosophy that Lman's taught her. All right. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. I'm really excited that you all thought so. But before we get started, I wanted to give a big shout out over to our philanthropy tier that has a new member. So I wanted to get that all set up as well. So I want to give a shout out to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon, which includes Alex Cornejo, Anime Annie, Be Happy, Bryant Reed, Damage 32415, Dana, Danger Zone, Alexandra Q, Devorin, Destiny Marie, Ichu, Eric Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Liam Polzel, Matthew Palfinier, Lyndon Murphew, Adam Perez, Nicholas, Nago, Sunspots, Shimoyama, Trails, Translucent Men, Starman AA, Bisa, as well as Chingy, 21. So thank you all so much, 21W. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So, as per usual, because I'm still not ready to watch the OP yet, I'm still avoiding that one. I'm like, we're going to avoid it and start at 1 minute and 28 seconds in. So if you go to the link down below, it'll be 1 minute and 28 seconds in, but we are going to get started. I have to know what's happening now, y'all. So we're going to see what happens with episode 15 of the Apothecary Diaries season 2. And we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's make sure I got my subtitles correct. Let's jam. Man, every time I think that this is just going to be like a little casual episode of Apothecary Diaries, no, there's stuff thrown at us and I'm like, oh, we're going to use that for setup later. Okay, great. Also, I think at this point we can kind of all come to the consensus that MaoMao is not a reliable narrator. Girl knows things and is not saying that she knows them. She also is confirming things in her head and then being like, I don't know. I'm like, girl, you are devious and you're not letting your audience know what all you've accepted and what you haven't accepted until the fact of the matter comes up. And I'm like, Jinshi's got his work cut out for him because Jinshi's a pretty cut and dry character. And even though he's keeping secrets, It's hard for him. It's not hard for MaoMao to keep secrets. I'm like, damn it, girl. Come on now. So I'm glad that the ice cream I've seen in the OP is now not a spoiler, because it's been bugging me the last 2 weeks being like, what is the ice cream? Well, now we know the ice cream is what we end up making with the ice to give to Lolan, ha 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 ha, aka Shisui. Bitch, what? We're going to talk about that in this. I was floored. So, to be fair, ice is not an easy commodity to get to. And, you know, the fact that they knocked it over, now it's got dirt and everything on it. But MaoMao's like, I got this. We got enough ice. We can create some ice cream with it. This will all work out. Which at the fair that I used to go to as a kid, there was a family that had dairy goats, and they would just milk dairy goats, and then they would make homemade dairy goat ice cream at the end of the week out of it. And it was so good. It was so fresh. And it was just so creamy. And goat's milk is a little bit different than cow's milk. Goat's milk is a little bit more richer than cow's milk is. And it was just so good. I was like, So definitely recommend goat's milk ice cream. It was amazing. It had like a little sweeter taste to it as well than cow milk. So definitely a fan of goat's milk ice cream. But the moment she brought the ice in there and started getting the milk, I was like, oh, that's what we're going to do. Okay. Plus, you know, Great British Baking Show, get me used to them making homemade ice cream. I will say, though, MaoMao has come a long way. MaoMao has come a long way from season 1 in terms of her relationships. So MaoMao has come a long way. We're going to put MaoMao up here. And what all how she has changed. She has developed this friendship with Xiaolan. And to the point where she cares about her future. We learn a little bit about Xiaolan in this. We learn that her parents sold her, which sucks. Her parents sold her off. But I think MaoMao respects Xiaolan and respects their friendship so much, because Xiaolan is kind of like MaoMao. She never complains about her circumstance. She just rolls with the punches, and she's just a nice person. And MaoMao genuinely respects her and respects like her work ethic and how she doesn't let things get her down. So of course she's terrified now that her prospects of getting hired are going to be ruined after this event, if this concubine not getting the ice that she needs. Thank God it was Lolan. Although honestly, Li Hua probably wouldn't have cared. Li Shu now wouldn't have cared, and Gyokuyou would have cared. So, you know, Lolan's the mystery person, but then Shisui shows up to get the ice cream, so it's like, she would have been fine. And I mean, honestly, with the situation of it being Lolan, we'll talk more about that when we get to it. I think Lolan would have had one of her servants take the ice cream and would have been fine. So anyway, not only that, but MaoMao is sticking out for others openly. I do think that trait of kindness that she has is more attributed to her great uncle, to Lman, than it is to Lochan. I don't think Lochan would stick himself out for anybody except himself and maybe MaoMao, because she's his daughter. So I don't think Lochan would stick himself out for anybody unless it was beneficial to him. That is one trait that I think MaoMao does not take from Lochan. I think that comes directly from being raised by Lman, who has such a sense of kind justice and just being nice and helpful to people, even when it puts them at a disadvantage. I think she inherits that from Lman. But for MaoMao to go from rescuing Jinshi in the last season and doing it under the pretense of, oh, I just can't let anybody get hurt, you know, for no reason. Now she's out in the open, out in public, in front of people, being like, no, we're sorry this happened. We'll make it up to you. That's a big step for MaoMao. And that's really, pushing her growth as a character, which I really like. And the show doesn't make a big deal about it. It's just something that we notice as we watch her. So, but poor Xiaolan, she'd been so excited that she got the hairpin from the concubine she was giving a massage to, because she thought that would be a chance to possibly get some other job outside of this. And now she's afraid it's all going to go up in ruins. And MaoMao's like, I think we can salvage this. Let me take this ice. And the guy's like, you got 1 hour. She wants some icy treats to cool her off in the afternoon. Now, the question, of course, is, did Lolan actually want the icy treats? Or did she send this eunuch off to go do this task because she wanted him out of the way so she could go lollygag and do whatever she wanted? You tell me. I don't know. But yeah, and of course, MaoMao says, out of all of them, it's the one I have no connections with. Sure, Jan. Sure you don't have connections. You sure about that? But she's like, it would be terrible to anger a high-ranking concubine. We should find something to replace it. And then she's like, I think we got this. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll let her know you got less than an hour. And she's like, I got this. The thing is, when she stands up and looks over, there's Jinshi. Gaoshun is like sweating, going, oh my God. And Jinshi's like, hey, friend, I couldn't help but notice you're in a pickle. You sure you don't need some help? And MaoMao's like, dear God. What I like about this is that MaoMao does all the tasks herself. She manages to get the job done herself. But she does know that she needs space and she needs to use some connections. And she's like, damn it, I don't have time to go to Gyokuyou. I can't go to Gyokuyou because it's involved another concubine. I can't get her tied up in this. So yeah, I kind of need Jinshi in this moment. And Jinshi, of course, is reveling in this because he's like, hey, I couldn't help but notice you needed some help and I could be of service. And she's like, son of a bitch, fine. So yeah, she grabs, and Jinshi's just like, I'm so happy I'm going to be needed, right? Because I think Jinshi views this as an opportunity for him to get closer to MaoMao. The problem is the timing, where MaoMao's like, good, glad you can help. We can bond later. Got to get this done. Save my other friend now too. Thanks, bye. Jinshi. I like the one doctor that sits there and helps her, like, to calm down. It's really sweet. But yeah. And MaoMao's smiling when they're walking and they're talking about the request that Xiaolan had gotten the hairpin. Like, MaoMao genuinely likes Xiaolan. She's really friends with her. And she's like, I gotta make this up to her. Getting yelled at probably scared her and she couldn't even move. And then she looks over and Jinshi is just sexily hanging up against the banister being like, you rang? And she's like, actually, no. God. Jinshi was like the cat that ate the damn canary. He was like, I love that I'm being needed. And Gaoshun's like, don't milk it too hard, sir. It's not going to go in your favor. Ever since Jinshi's been able to let the frog out of the pond, he's been in a lot better spirits. I'm like, oh my God, Jinshi. And she's just like, I love her looking over her shoulder back at him like, God. The best part is that Jinshi is a lot like Lockin and MaoMao is a lot like Lockin. And when they both look at each other, it's like, she's just like, God, you're gonna hold this over on me, aren't you? And he's like, oh, hey, MaoMao, how you doing, girl? You need my help? Is there something you need? And she's like, I just need some ingredients in the kitchen. He's like, how brazen? What do I get in return? And the thing about it is, Jinshi is just flirting with her openly because he knows he can get away with it right now because she's not in any position to, like, argue back at him. And she's just like, and Jinshi just thinks he can get away with it. But she's like, I really don't have time for you to flirt with me, which is true. She doesn't have a lot of time. And she's like, I don't have anything to give in return. And here's the thing. If Jinshi had been creepy, he could have said, you have your body or something like that. But Jinshi's not like that. That's not Jinshi's way. Even when he's flirting with her, he doesn't take it a step too far, like some characters might in other series. She's like, I just need to ask. I don't have anything to give in return. I know this is out of line, but I don't have time right now. And I feel like as soon as she does say that, Jinshi kind of like, he tones down the flirting because he's like, okay. You don't have time. I get it. You don't want to mess around. It's okay. So he's like, but you didn't cause this situation. So why are you helping? And she's like, they're my friend. So I wouldn't sleep well if I didn't help. And I feel like this is a good moment for Jinshi to learn from MaoMao's answer, because what Jinshi is implying is you want to help her because she's your friend and you care about her. But MaoMao is not the type of person to say that I care about someone openly. MaoMao's just not like that. She's not someone that discusses open emotions that are intimate like that. And that's why Jinshi laughs, because she says, oh, well, I just wouldn't sleep well if I didn't help. And he kind of laughs in that moment because he's like, girl, he's like, you mean to tell me you can't just say that she's your friend and you like her and you're doing this for her? And she's like, I don't get it. And he's like, you won't sleep well. Is that it? She's like, yes. And then MaoMao doubles down on it and says it would affect my work for the next day. Like she's so serious about it in that moment. And that's why Jinshi's like, well, we certainly can't have that. Like, I feel like for Jinshi, what this conversation should be affirming to him is that MaoMao's not just ignoring you and treating you coldly. She does that with everyone. And I hope that Jinshi kind of gleans that from this conversation of, yeah, she just kind of gives the cold shoulder to everybody, even her friends that she's desperately helping. I would hope that's what he got from this scenario. I hope that's what he would get. That MaoMao's not just ignoring you, Jinshi. Even if she cares about you, she's not going to come out right and say it because that's just not her personality. But he's like, fine. So he's like, sure, I'll help you, but under one condition. And she's like, oh my God. And when she's like, he tips her head up and says, when someone is talking to you, let them finish and pay attention. Now, what he's asking in that moment is not anything like, it's not berating her. It's not getting onto her. It's like, I'm going to tell you one day that I'm the Emperor's brother. And I want you to let me say everything I need to say to you without interrupting me, because during the cave back in episode 11 and 12, you didn't let me do that. So now I'm stuck in this position. So he's like, I'll help you, but next time I'm trying to have a conversation with you, I need you to let me finish it before you interrupt me. Is essentially what he's saying. And MaoMao seems surprised by this, and she's like, well, is that it? And he's like, Jinshi's like, you have no idea how hard it is for me to ask you this, because it's been very difficult for me to get this to actually happen. And he's like, you can't even do that much. And of course, MaoMao's like, and Jinshi's like, fine, never mind. He's like, I'll think of it. I'll think of something else. And then I'll just tell you whenever. He's like, that's not good enough. I need something more concrete. And so he's like, what should it be? And when she's like, I have a bad feeling about this. And of course, Jinshi is just goading over her in this moment. She's like, And when she shakes her head, that's when her ribbon comes untied and he catches it. Which the ribbon looks kind of like it did in the first OP with that. And he's asking, well, why aren't you wearing your hairpin? I like that she says that, he's like, I gave you a hairpin at the garden party. And he's like, did you sell it off? And she's like, well, I haven't yet. Which again calls back to the beginning of season 2 when she was giving stuff away to everyone. And it's like, oh my God, like the handkerchief. But he's like, well, then wear that. Then you can make it up to me by wearing the hairpin. And then she's like, okay. And he's like, is there a problem? And he says, when you wear it, I'll tell you. Which to me is like such a romantic Jinshi answer, right? So Jinshi is basically saying that Jinshi wants to be able to tell MaoMao. He wants to be able to tell her about his identity completely, right? But he wants to make sure that that is at the right time. And I think for Jinshi, it's kind of romantic because to him, he's like, well, when you wear the hairpin that I gave you, that will be a very romantic, opportunistic moment for me to tell you who I am and then say that by wearing this hairpin, I'm acknowledging that you are someone I like and you're someone I want to protect. And now that you know who I am, you know I have the capability of doing so. And it goes back to that conversation that they had back in season 1 where she's like, well, you're just the head eunuch. There's someone over you. So if I do something out of line, you may have to punish me and you won't have any choice. Well, when he tells her his identity and she's wearing the hairpin, he'll be like, look, actually, the person over me is my brother. We both like you. So actually, I can protect you. You're wearing the hairpin, which means I'm going to protect you. So now you know. So we'll see if that actually ends up happening, right? We'll see if she actually ends up wearing the hairpin. But I like that Jinshi has kind of made it. He's given himself a deadline. He's like, whenever MaoMao wears the hairpin, that's what I'm going to tell her. That's what I'm going to tell her. And now that she owes me, it's going to happen sooner than later. So I can physically prepare myself to tell her this news. I'm like, oh my God, these two. And she's like, okay. And MaoMao, of course, has no clue what's going on. She's just like, let's get this kitchen and let's go to work. So yeah, I love the idea of making the ice cream. I like that they do it, the ice climbers thing where MaoMao just knocks out the ice. Girl's got some forearm power there, crushing up that ice, right? I do like the little animated detail of making her skin kind of tinged pink, like for if you touch something cold, your hands would get pink and everything and get cooled. But I really like that. I love the process of them making the ice cream. It's super cute. And then I like MaoMao saying if I'd had more time, I could have added eggs or scented it with herbs. Like she could have made mint ice cream, could have done a lot of things. But I do like, what was all the things that they added to it? They were adding all of the different, I know it looked like nuts that were chopped up, and MaoMao's taking practice if Jinshi doesn't live up to his expectations, needs to become a eunuch again. But there was also like candied, it looked like peaches. I think that was something else that was there too. Yeah, there was a whole dish of them. There was a whole thing like dish. There's nuts, peaches, and plums, which were super cute. All right. Which peach ice cream is amazing. If you not have peach ice cream, great. With pecans in it. It's a very southern Midwest flavor, so I was glad they made that in here. But yeah, and so the guard is like, oh, I'll get that. I will get that to Shisui, to Xiaolan. I'll get that to Xiaolan right away. And then it was like a damn SNL skit. He left with the ice cream to go one direction, to go give it to Xiaolan. And who shows up on the other side of the other door? Shisui. And imagine that. Shisui showing up at the very last minute to get the ice cream. Now, MaoMao said that Master Jinshi told me about her likes and dislikes. So apparently, because Jinshi has visited her enough, he knows that she liked nuts and liked peaches. Well, also imagine that Shisui happens to like the exact same things. Oh my god. What? Now, again, conjecture, because the guard and Xiaolan like the same things as well. So it's pretty universal at this point. But I'm like, okay. Yeah, Shisui just happens to show up in time to eat it. I heard the commotion, so I ditched work and came over. Sure you did. Did you ditch work inside your confines as a consort? Is that what happened? So we see? Yeah. I mean, the eye color is the same. The hair color is the same. I am 99.9% sure it's that Xiaolan is Swiss Shisui, and it all just conveniently works out that she ends up getting to eat the ice cream. So if anybody asks about it, she's like, oh yeah, I had it. It was amazing. It was peachy and nutty. It was great. And she'll know because she actually had it in that moment. Now, to be fair, I do love Shisui and MaoMao's relationship along with Xiaolan. I really do love it. Do I think that Shisui is actually Xiaolan? Yes. Do I think that's going to be a big old mess when it all comes out of the wash? Yes, I do. But we're not ready for that moment yet. We're just going to conveniently not worry too much about it. But I mean, it's kind of like halcyon days here because the three of them, like MaoMao's smiling, the three of them are having such a great time. My concern would be if Xiaolan ends up being part of a conspiracy to hurt Jinshi or Gyokuyou, and then it comes out that Shisui is Xiaolan and she gets kicked out of the palace. Is MaoMao going to get labeled as an accomplice, or are her and Xiaolan going to be guilt by association because they've been hanging out with her so much as Shisui but didn't notice? That's a very real possibility that could happen. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that is a very real possibility. So anyway, but surprisingly, that was only half of the episode. The other half was dealing with the fact that Gyokuyou might be facing a breech delivery with this second baby. So we find out Lingli is growing up, which is super cute. She's not speaking yet. But we also find out that Gyokuyou is very close to having this baby. Like I'm guessing, is just a couple weeks off from having this baby, which is a lot further on than I expected and shows, again, the passage of time and all this. I think it is helpful to know that Lingli was a very easy birth. She was really small and she came properly, and Hongyang was able to be a midwife and deliver her just fine. But this baby seems to be a bit different. So I also feel like there's probably more pressure with this baby because they really want it to be a boy. So I don't know. I kind of don't care either way. If it ends up being another girl, Lingli will have a little sister. But if it is a boy, then there's a lot of pressure because it's like Gyokuyou has the heir to the throne, there. So, I thought at first when she said it only kicks downwards, it hadn't crossed my mind about him only kicking down and not being upside down. Usually I thought the old wives' tale was if a baby is carried low, it's a girl, and if they're carried higher up, they're a boy. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but that's just why I heard that they're carried different. So MaoMao's a little concerned. Now, I will say having been there for the delivery of many cows, because my family raises cattle, you do not want a backwards birth. It's not good. You want that calf's front feet and their head to come first, and then the shoulders come. And then after the shoulders are the hardest part of a cow giving birth. Them shoulders are the hardest part. Once them shoulders and that head's out, it just bloop. The rest of it just bloops right out. And that's kind of the way with a human baby. You want the head to come first because it's the biggest. And once the head and shoulders are out, it's like, just comes right out. The problem is when they're upside down. So again, they showed like a little passage with the birth canal. Again, the prospect of having babies is terrifying. Those of you that have had babies, you have my utmost sympathy. It is terrifying to me. The prospect of pushing this thing out of your vagina is terrifying. Very terrifying. The fellow coach that I coach with, she's had 4 children. She's had 4 boys. They only wanted 1 girl. They've had 4 boys. And she's like, I just gave up after the 4th one. So, which the man determines the sex of the baby, which is, so it's her husband's fault. But she had her first 2 with an epidural. I think she had her first and her 4th one with an epidural. And then the other 2 she had naturally. And I was like, how was that? And she's like, well, when you naturally have a baby, for about 10 minutes, you think you're dying. And then it's fine. And I'm like, so for Gyokuyou, whenever MaoMao's like, I got to perform an exam, I got to stick my hand up there to see about the baby. I got to stick my hand inside your vagina to go see about the baby. She's like, well, I gave birth, so it can't be that bad. And I'm like, so essentially you want the baby's head down here and the body over here, because then that comes out and it's not a big problem. The problem becomes when you go feet first, and I'm going to use a cow as an example. When you have a cow and its legs are like this and you go feet first, the problem is when you get up here to the shoulders, chances are it's going to get stuck. And by that point, the umbilical cord could have detached. By that point, the placenta's broken. By that point, the calf could literally be drowning and dying and suffocating inside the cow's body because you can't get it out for it to breathe. So you're essentially cutting off oxygen to it when it's breech, unless you can get it out. And that's why they do C-sections on humans, because you don't want the baby to be cut off from oxygen. They could potentially, be damaged mentally, or they could die. So you don't want that. That's not what you want to happen with your baby. So for them, they're like, well, if the baby's breech, we're probably gonna have to do a C-section and cut you open, which does not sound good. Now, if you have a cow, sometimes if you have like a female veterinarian or a male veterinarian with very small hands, I have seen some veterinarians go up inside of the cow and they've been able to flip the calf to where it comes out the proper way. That is a very intricate process. And luckily a cow's stomach is huge, so there's lots of room to do that. But with a human, you can't just do that usually. You can't just get all up in there and flip that baby around. So now, like MaoMao says, sometimes it happens naturally where the baby will flip right before it's born and do the proper way, but that doesn't always happen. And if that's the case, then the baby could come breech and we could have a problem. So we do have this weird conversation about midwives, and there's the talk about how they had midwives from the outside come in, like with Lihua, someone delivered her baby from the outside, and in Gyokuyou's case, Hongyang had to do it because the other midwife fell ill. I just don't get a good vibe from that, because especially with people trying to attempt the lives of these women and their children, bringing in an outsider seems incredibly risky. So I don't know if I like that idea. So honestly, I would have Lman stay after delivering Gyokuyou and have him stay for Lihua and be there for both. Although if something happens to Lihua's baby because of an outside person, I don't know. I just don't get good vibes from that at all. I don't know how to feel about that. So, I don't know. But there was a midwife who temporarily entered the rear palace originally. And so MaoMao's like, I don't know, I don't know if I'd want to bring in all these outsiders when we're not very trusting right now. So anyway. But yes, they want to make sure that it's breech. And so MaoMao performs the procedure and she's pretty sure that it is. And she's like, if we could bring in my dad, Lman, which here's the thing. She comes out right and says in her inner monologue that Lman is not her adoptive father, it's her great uncle. So she's known that Lochinger's biological dad and knows a little bit about her family. that Lman is her uncle. Now, I don't know if the show has revealed that she knew that before, or if this is the first time we've heard that from her, but I'm like, you are not a reliable narrator, girl. You're just now letting us know that you know Lman's your great uncle. Okay, all right. So they talk about moxibustion. I was like, what was moxibustion? And people have looked this up because it was possible. It is a traditional Chinese medicine therapy involving the burning of moxa, typically from dried mugwort, or on or near acupuncture points or meridians. Interesting. The burning of moxa on or near a person's skin as a counter irritant. Okay. Well, from mugwort leaves. Okay. Well, you know what? That makes sense that MaoMao said she could do that because that seems like a very apothecary-driven thing to do. She could find the mugwort leaves and burn them and do the acupuncture. That seems right up her alley. So she's like, in the pleasure district, that's what they tell you to do. And so I know how to do that, and good exercise, which here's the other thing. She's not really been getting any exercise because she's just been stuck indoors with the baby. So it probably hasn't helped to stimulate the baby moving around properly because she's been stuck inside all day. So that's probably, I'm assuming that when she was pregnant with her first child, she was able to move around a lot more, and maybe that helped. So she figures out, she's like, I know a man that's been able to deliver a baby and has also been able to do a C-section, but he was kicked out and he's considered a criminal. And of course, Hong Yang's like, no, absolutely not. We're not having a criminal. But I love that MaoMao stands up for her dad. She stands up for Lman. She's like, no, I really respect him. And he's, she's like, he may have been a criminal, but what crime did he commit? He was a eunuch and he was a doctor in the rear palace. In the past, he helped deliver the emperor, the current crown prince, and concubine Aduo's baby. So this man has literally been there for the birth of Jinshi, the emperor, and the emperor's brother that died. So we know that he was there to deliver. He was there to deliver the current emperor. He was helping to deliver Aduo's baby, who was not delivered by C-section but happened naturally. But then, now the emperor was a C-section. We don't know, and we know Aduo's baby, which was Jinshi, was delivered naturally. But as for the brother of the emperor, we don't know if the baby was a C-section or a natural birth at all. I don't think they ever talked about that in the previous episode. They just said he helped deliver the two babies. And as for the reason of his exile, all I know is it's related to Aduo. So I don't know. Now, the question is, did he spend too much time with Aduo and not enough time with the Empress Dowager? And so the other Empress, tried to get rid of him for that reason? I'm actually kind of curious because I don't think we found out the reason he was exiled entirely. So finding that out might be interesting in this season. I mean, the thing about it is, Jinshi and Gyokuyou know that he's there, right? They just know he was expelled. And I think for Gyokuyou, her hearing that he's MaoMao's adoptive father is all the more reason for her to be like, look, if he raised you and you're as good as you are, I trust this man because he clearly raised a good daughter. So, which, I mean, that just speaks volumes, right? Speaks volumes. And the thing about it is, I think Gyokuyou brings up an amazing point where she's like, look, he doesn't seem like a bad person. Look how this stray cat respects him. And she's like, back then, he was kicked out during the reign of the previous empress and the previous emperor. We know, and as we've learned this season, we know that they weren't exactly the best people, and they excused a lot of people under kind of vague and weird circumstances. So can we really base him as a criminal for a past regime that was maybe not the most sound? I mean, and Gyokyo's like, look, I want to save myself and this baby. I'd really like not to be cut up, but if I am, I'd like to be done by somebody with experience. So, I mean, I love Gyokuyou in this moment. In this moment, to me, Gyokuyou positions herself as someone that's worthy of being the empress because she shows a lot of soundness. She shows calm. She calms MaoMao down. She's the one that's like facing the problems, and she calms MaoMao down, and she thinks about it logically. She knows the steps to take. She's like, we should ask Jinshi for help. He's somebody that's official in this. It also makes me wonder if Gyokuyou knows that Jinshi is the emperor's brother, but you know, we'll save that. She's like, I'm gonna write a letter. And I love MaoMao's like, that's what I call dignity. What a concubine becoming a mother is like. I don't know. I feel like, Li Hua probably would act a little differently about it, but Gyokuyou, dignity is a good word to define her. So then Lman, I love how they show it takes him so long because he's had his legs broken, right, from the previous administration. And Gaoshun welcomes him and helps him up to get to her. Oh, if you had told me at the beginning of season 1 that Lman was eventually going to be let into the rear palace to help deliver Gyokyo's baby, I would have been like, what? Are you kidding? And I like that he doesn't want MaoMao to get in trouble. So he keeps very calm and just lets MaoMao be in the background, knowing that she's there and she's okay. Is the sweetest thing. I love it. A man who looked more like an elderly woman. Yep. And he's like, I'm going to be temporarily serving. I like that MaoMao's like, oh, good. The old quack's not going to lose his job. Great. He's just here temporarily to help out. I was worried he would get fired. But he decides to go back. Okay. I mean, it feels like we're gathering the Avengers. It feels like we now have Lman in the palace that knows a lot about medicine with the quack doctor and MaoMao. We have Jinshi and Gaoshun. We have the 4 concubines assembled. Suirei is here. The envoys, I think, are still here. And now we just need Lman to get involved. We just need Lman to get back involved because we haven't seen him since season 1. And it'll be like the stage will be set. The chessboard will be out. And then it's like, what are we going to do? And it's only episode 15. So honestly, we still have 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We have 9 episodes left. There is a lot of damn stuff that can happen in 9 episodes. So, okay. All right. I like that they're all like, he doesn't seem at all like your father. She's like, well, technically he's my great uncle. The funny thing is, Lman is exactly who we imagine MaoMao's dad being. Like, Lman's personality matches MaoMao so much. But Lman has literally calmed MaoMao down from the madness that she could be, which would be more akin to Lman. Mm-hmm. He seems gentle and calm, like a normal person. She's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, what were you imagining? And she's like, well, he has common sense. And they're like, yeah. I love Gyokuyou laughing at that because she's like, no, MaoMao is book smart. MaoMao is good at what she does. But there's a lot of common sense things that MaoMao observes that she either doesn't get or she actively chooses to ignore. And I'm like, the bad part is we as the audience don't know which is she actively choosing to ignore and which is she actually paying attention to. I'm like, okay. She's like, I just don't get it. So then we cut to Suirei. I don't know what the grave at the end was signifying. I don't know. I don't know what that grave was signifying at the ending. Like, who is the grave that they are at? And it was Suirei, right? It looked like it was Suirei, because at first, when the hair was curved out, I'm like, is it Jinshi or is it Lman? But then we see who it is. That's not Jinshi. That's Suirei that's sitting there. Is there the white band and they have a band on? I don't think that's Jinshi. I think that is Suirei that's there. Or maybe, I don't think it's Jinshi because they have the bun on the hair. I think it's Suirei. So for me, how many different little graves were there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they're out in the middle of the forest. And they're out in the middle of the northern forest, we think. The part that's always been abandoned that we keep going back to. Okay. My theory is that this is Suirei because I don't think the hair looks a little too wavy to be Jinshi's. The bangs looked a little too wavy to be Jinshi's. I think that it's Suirei, and I think that those graves are the graves of the children of the emperor that died, either the current emperor or the previous emperor. And the thing about it is, my theory is that Suirei is the illegitimate daughter or child of the previous emperor. So, because, I mean, you could say Suirei's in their 20s. You could say at least. So older than Jinshi, right? Because Jinshi's brother, or Jinshi's uncle, the emperor's brother, was the last born child of the late emperor. So if Suirei was born before that, I don't know. I do think that Suirei is the half sister or half sibling to Jinshi, or to not to Jinshi but to the emperor. I think that Suirei is the half sibling to the emperor and is making connections and trying to, like, I don't know. I don't think that Suirei necessarily wants to be in line for the throne. If they are a biological woman, then that's not going to happen for them anyway. But I think that they might want revenge for their mother. They might want revenge against the throne because of their upbringing. I don't know, but I feel like all those gravestones are for the babies that were lost from the emperor, because we know the current emperor, Li Hua's son, died. We know that, and we heard that the other children of the current emperor died as well because of the powder and stuff happening. So Ling Li's been the only survivor. So, yeah. So right now, the only surviving children of the current so if we're looking at the timeline, the family tree here, if we have the OG empress, she had the OG emperor who got with the current dowager Anshi, the current dowager empress, and then they had the current emperor, and then they also had this other brother that died, but then he could have gotten with this other concubine, and then they had Suirei. So Suirei and the current emperor are the only two OG ones, and the current emperor got with Aduo and had Jinshi, and then he's gotten with Gyokuyou and had Ling Li, and now he's possibly gotten with Li Hua, and there's a mystery baby, and now there's going to be another mystery baby. So we've got that going on. And so Suirei is over here being like the illegitimate child that's not going to get anything because they're not eligible for any part of the throne, but who knows? So I don't know. Suirei is the most mysterious character out of all of them in the series because I have no clue what their end game is. I have no clue what their MO is. With Xiaolan, it seems like with Xiaolan and Shisui, I've talked about the idea of them possibly trying to do reconnaissance to maybe stop the envoy from doing things and trying to gain power. So there's that. And Shisui has talked about having a lot of admiration for the Dowager Empress and her sense of justice. So Xiaolan could just be trying to be a concubine, but right now they got to try to do the envoy reconnaissance to figure all that out right now. So that could all be a part of it. So I kind of have an idea of what Xiaolan could be doing. But then on the other hand, I have no clue what Suirei is doing. I have no clue what Suirei's mission is. Like, their whole MO is like this big, giant question mark. So I'm waiting to see what the show's going to give me in terms of Suirei, if anything, by the end of this season. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? But yeah, that's definitely Suirei, I feel. I don't think it's Jinshi, because Jinshi's bangs are not fluffy and wavy like that. Well, damn it! That episode went by very quickly, far too quickly, and now I have to wait. Boo! Now I have to wait again. I'm caught back up, and now I have to wait like the rest of y'all until next week. How dare. So, anyway, I'm really excited to see what this next episode will bring us. We still have plenty of episodes in the season left, so that's good. But in the meantime, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. Please, no spoilers, hints, or clues. I'm sure the show will let us figure it out. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of the Apothecary Diaries. Bye!